Hi guys, and welcome back to The Principles of Dance with me, your host, Nazine Danielle. So I just want to recap quickly on episode 1. Thank you so much for everyone who contacted me. The feedback was wonderful and it was so gorgeous to connect with you all. So please keep the comments coming in because I really love chatting with you all. So today, as promised, I have got some gorgeous guests in the studio. So welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Is this really strange to do this setup rather than just be in the studio?
A little bit, yes.
So slightly, it's just the microphone.
So we have got the gorgeous Becky Clow and the fantastic Daniel Cox. So Becky and Daniel are actually two of my faculty at both my school and my college. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves a little bit. So Becky, I'll start with you. Can you just tell us what it is, what our relationship is, as in what you teach for me, etc.?
I teach ballet, point work, PBT, anything classical. It's my genre.
You have done a little commercial class for me once though, Becky.
Once.
I do hope that was filmed.
It wasn't, unfortunately.
Oh, right, okay.
One of the students might be able to give you a little demo of how that class went. Went really, really well.
So Becky, tell me how you got to where you got to today. So what's your background in dance? What was your career like?
So I started at 3 at a little school, like most of us probably did. And then at 11, I went to Elmhurst Ballet School, which is a vocational dance school. I trained there for 9 years and then I got a job with a professional company. So I toured with Moscow State Ballet for 2 years and we went all over Europe, which was fantastic, and did a lovely tour of Mexico, which was much colder than I thought it was going to be. It was -2 at night, which I didn't think would happen in Mexico. I also got to work with Birmingham Royal Ballet in their performances of the Female Garde, which is a fantastic ballet. A very funny ballet, actually. A lot of people don't think ballet is funny.
No,
but
I've
it's
not
quite
actually seen it.
Quite a funny one. And then I finished my performing career with the National Theatre in Belgrade in Serbia. So I worked there for 3 seasons, dancing the full classical and contemporary repertoire. And then I retired due to a foot injury and retrained to get my teacher's qualification. So I trained with the Royal Academy of Dance and gained their professional dancers teaching diploma. And that's when I met you and we started our wonderful journey together.
It is. So I've got a couple of things that I want to touch on there, what you just spoke about. Yeah. So first of all, Elmhurst.
Yes.
So you went to the school and the college, is that right?
Yes. So I went to 11 and you train and you do all your academics and you're dancing during the day, a little bit like what we're doing now. Yes. And then at 6th form, you can audition for other schools if you want to. But I was accepted to stay at Elmhurst. So I did another 4 years at Elmhurst after that.
Gorgeous. Tell me what a life in the day at Elmhurst is like.
Long. Probably definitely want to be in the studio by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Getting yourself nice and warming up for the day. In college, we would have ballet class first thing, so sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock start for your ballet class. And then we would continue, especially in our graduate year, we pretty much danced all day, which was fabulous. So we'd have ballet class into a point work class, into a solos class, into a pas de deux class. And then we might have a contemporary class as well, or flamenco or something like that. But during the lower school, we would do the ballet class in the day and then we would have our academics and then have more dancing during the evening. And we still did the different styles like jazz and tap and things like that.
And because I always do wonder about ballet school, how much extra, genres you do get within that.
Definitely in the lower school, it's a lot more mixed. So they're trying to keep keep you nice and versatile. But once we got to college, as the focus was ballet, it was a lot more classical with sort of maybe one contemporary class a week, one jazz class a week. So still touching on those genres, but really, really focusing on the classical.
So how beneficial do you think going to vocational school was in your career path?
For me, I definitely wouldn't have got there without going to vocational school. And it's not just the actual training in the studio, it's sort of the whole mindset, and everybody else has got that goal, and the discipline, the work ethic, because it's a tough career being a performer, and as we know. So you have to learn how to work hard, and sort of taught me that from a young age.
Yeah.
Keep going.
This is really interesting, and there's lots of things you're saying that I kind of want to touch on in today's podcast, so we'll be coming back to all this. But one more thing before we go on. You mentioned that you had a foot injury.
Yes.
And this is one of the things I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Not your foot injury.
Yeah. Please get your feet on.
I'll get my feet
Although
out.
we can, if you wish. One thing that parents come to me and say, and often maybe if they've come to like the Saturday school, so to speak, and they're thinking about going to college, or since having the vocational school, people have said it to me about this, you know, but dance is short-lived. What do they do after they've danced? Or what if they get an injury? And it frustrates me because I think people just think dance is being on a stage and performing, which is normally the goal.
Yeah.
But it's not limited to that, is there? There's such a wide world out there that you can do.
Yep.
If that's been your starting point.
100%. 100%.
You know, things like, even if you went into costumes or being a makeup artist and you know the industry inside and out, but it branches off in so many different ways. Being a choreographer, a director, you know, if you're creatively, if you've got that creative mindset, you might be a writer or...
So many options that it can open up for you.
But one thing as well, that I think is, even if you didn't go into a performing arts pathway, the discipline and the work ethic that performing arts gives you is just invaluable into whatever field you want to go into.
And being able to think on your feet.
Yes.
And just go for it.
Under pressure.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Figure
100%.
something out, say yes, get on with it.
Yeah.
Things like that. Teaches
100%.
you a lot about that.
100%. Daniel, hello.
Hi. Morning. There we go.
So can you just give us a little insight, because I know yours is probably a little bit different to Becky's. So can you tell us how you started training, what your journey was, what you've gone on to do?
Yes. So I started in my living room. Probably when I was about 5 or 6, and I had one of those silly dance mats on like the PS2, and my mum was like, that boy absolutely loves it, going to have to find him a local dance school. She moved me to the local dance school, and it just developed from there, really, doing like shows, competitions, things like that. And I really found something that made me feel like, you know, every time I went, I had that energy and excitement, and I was a very, very energetic child. So that outburst for me was fantastic. I mean, I'm sure my first dance teacher would, you know, disagree. She had many, many sleepless nights where I was like jumping around. You know, I was very hyperactive, but again, it was being able to do that in that environment. At 16. I sort of had that mindset of, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue to do A-levels, or am I going to go to vocational training? But I think I knew in my heart that that's what I wanted to do. So auditioned, got into Merseyside Dance and Drama, did not know what I was getting myself in for at all. And then ended up doing musical theatre and the teaching course at the same time. Spent the 3 years there, and then went to work professionally. Cruise ships, where we met, doing Hey Benny the musical. And then my latest one was Cats the musical. Done that prior to COVID. Very grateful to be assistant dance captain, and then went back after COVID in the role of dance captain. Still actively auditioning and stuff like that. But yeah, that was me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Just a tiny nutshell.
So what I'd like to go back on there is you said when you did your course at college, you did musical theatre and your teaching.
Yes.
Are you happy with that choice of doing the two courses alongside each other?
Well, I went with the mindset of I'm going to be a teacher, and I do recall, it was quite a few years ago, but I do recall on the first day they were like, "Oh, who can sing? You know, go forward." And I thought, I'm gonna have to give it a go, because everyone else was throwing the 2 pence in the mix, and I just stepped forward and I sang, and the singing teacher was like, "Okay, you will be doing the musical theatre course." You know, obviously they see something in that for you, which that has been, you know, the core of my career so far. So to do that, to do both alongside, you know, it was a tough journey, but it's got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very grateful for it.
I always, with my college students, because we offer in college, we do a BTEC course, as you know, level 4 courses. You can just do performance-based if you want, you know, without the qualification alongside of it. But I always try and encourage them to do the teachers as well, because you never know when you're going to need to pick up on that in between jobs.
Yeah.
And for me, I think while you're in that space and you're in the mindset of learning and training, the goal in that space should be to make yourself as employable as possible, because you never know where life's going to take you.
No.
So get those qualifications and the world's your oyster, you know? So I do think it is quite important to do both alongside.
Definitely.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
There was people from like both aspects. There was people who wanted to do musical theatre and then ended up doing teaching, and then people who went primarily for teaching and then ended up going onto the musical theatre and doing more musical theatre pieces in the showcase and stuff like that. And even that's benefited them from an aspect of like performance, like stage direction, things like that, their own choreography as a teacher.
Yeah.
So I really do think like the blend from one to the other, it really, really does help in both aspects, depending on which journey you're going to go on.
I know I had a student come to me the other day, and there was a class that wasn't necessarily on her course, but she's doing the teaching course, and she was like, "Should I go to that musical theatre class?" And I was like, "Well, absolutely, because to be a teacher, you've got to be knowledgeable and be able to pass this knowledge on to the future generation. So get to as much as you can.
Do everything you can.
Learn your craft."
And that's what I say to the college students as well, is I try and pull it from a teaching aspect as well. Like if you're doing a song and dance, like as we're progressing in the industry with musical theatre, and musical theatre is becoming more contemporary, and we're seeing a lot more contemporary solos in terms of musical theatre put into song and dance, you know, to have that understanding, that knowledge and that like character development and stuff like that, that's really going to benefit when you're teaching a student and saying, well, actually, you know, the character's story is this, X, Y, and Z, and being able to portray that as a teacher onto the student.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've progressed onto dance captain. So it's only going to give you confidence to go on to those roles with a bit more responsibility.
Absolutely. I've just realised we didn't explain your role within our establishment. So.
I'm the cleaner.
So you actually help me in the kind of operations coordinator. Okay, middle door. So we kind of work together and help each other with the social media. Any events coming up, that kind of gets put into your hands. But Daniel also is our musical theatre teacher as well. We love listening to your classes outside of the studio.
We do.
Oh dear.
So you're so enthusiastic with the kids, but so entertaining for us on the other side.
And then you walk out and you're like,
Nothing gets done while you're teaching because we can't concentrate.
I love it. So what I did want to talk about today, because I thought we've got quite an interesting mix here. So I went to a vocational school, but it was in Liverpool and there wasn't an option to board.
Yep.
So I lived at home and I went to this vocational school, which I absolutely loved. probably not every day. We all have our ups and downs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's just life.
That's just life, exactly. But on reflection, I would go back tomorrow if I could. I think 100% it's made me who I am today. It's given me the discipline, it's given me the drive, it's given me the work ethic, like we said before. All my friends who I went to school with, still very close to, and we've still got good relationships. Not everyone's gone into the industry, so to speak,
Yeah.
but are all doing extremely well in life. So that's kind of, again, me in a nutshell. Becky, you went to vocational school and you boarded as well.
Yes. Yeah, at 11.
So it's going to be interesting to hear, our different perspectives on this.
Yeah.
And then, Daniel, you went to dance school, not necessarily, and went to, dare we say, normal school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that. I
Yeah.
just don't know how to articulate that better. And then went on to vocational college.
Yeah.
So I just thought we could maybe have a little chat about that and see, is there a better way to do it? Does it depend on the individual? So, Daniel, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Having not gone to a vocational school and now teaching in one, do you think it would have been a good environment for you, or are you happy with having that kind of separated school life and dance life?
I think looking back now on my journey, and I said this the other day, that going to vocational training at 16 for me was such an eye-opener. And I was still like immature as a person, but also immature as a dancer. And I forget stepping in that first day. And usually when you do go to vocational training, you've came from a dance school and mine was quite small, and you do go with, use the word like bravado, and you think like, I'm going to be at this level. And you step in your first day and you realise actually there's people better than you. There's people at a higher standard, and you think, this is like a culture shock. I'm not used to this. I'm used to being at the front and centre, always being the shining star, and you're not. And you think, actually, I've got to fight my way forward. So going to like a normal school and then going to vocational college was definitely like a big jump. And I did say the other day, if I had the opportunity, I probably would have extended it a little bit longer and probably went at 18, just so I had the emotional capacity and a bit more maturity to step into that industry. However, going at 16 and then leaving at 19, you are leaving like a fresh bunch of flowers out into the industry, and you're still kicking your legs here, there and everywhere.
That's really interesting, actually, because we have this debate quite a lot about when people want to leave to go to college at 16. Now, when I say leave to go to college, I mean leave home to go to college and maybe go to London at 16.
Yeah.
And when I was 16, I truly believed I was ready to leave home and take on the big wide world. But now, looking back, I was immature.
Yeah, I was such a mummy's boy. Like, I think the most I ever got was the bus to Liverpool city centre from Highton. Like, so, moving down to London would have been such a big culture shock and change. Even when I go down now to audition, even though I'm down there for 24, 48 hours, I still feel that overwhelming, like, it's such a big change from Liverpool. So if I'd have done that at 16, I don't know if I would have survived. I think I would have been eaten up alive.
Yeah.
I think I needed to stay where I could go home at night and cry to mum.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say, and this isn't true for everyone, but this is my experience and this is things I remember. A lot of people who I know who did go off at 16 ended up coming back because they weren't quite ready for it. But everyone I know who did it at 18, that little bit more maturer, seemed to embrace it a bit more.
They were ready.
So that's my personal opinion,
Yeah.
that 16 was still so young. And there's so many wonderful local colleges now.
Yeah,
I
there
think, years ago, going back to my era, there wasn't that kind of
It
option.
was a bit like London or nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now there's so much choice.
Yeah, there is.
That would be my recommendation. I know not everyone's the same, But my recommendation would be, it's only 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think as well, if I was cast in a job, I'd probably lean more towards the older anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like you've got to get out there and do it at 16, 18,
Yeah.
19. The more experience you've got, the more maturity, you're kind of setting yourself up for longevity, I think, in your career. That's what I personally think.
No, I used to, I did used to think that, like, oh, I'm going out like a fresh-faced baby face straight out of college. They're going to want me. And then you actually find out, actually, when they're, looking at your CV and looking at how long you've been in the industry, they are taking that into account because they want to know, can you work with people? What is your attitude like? And they know a lot of the time whether they want you just within the first 20 seconds of you stepping in the room, just by how you present yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're 19 and you're not overly confident and you go to that first audition, the likelihood is you're probably going to be stood at the back with your shoulders slumped and thinking, oh, is
Very
this
overwhelmed.
it? Yeah, very overwhelmed, and they can read that.
I remember, I think I was 17 and I was auditioning and I was doing quite well. One of the auditions I went for was the narrator in Joseph, and I remember my agent, I think she spoke to my mum, that's how young I was,
Brilliant.
And she said, so I don't want to upset Nazine just yet, but she's down to the last two. And it was myself at 17 and a 28-year-old who just come out the King and I. And they didn't know whether to go like on a fresh take on it. Because at the time, your Britney Spears and everyone was like very popular. So they didn't they were thinking about doing like fresh take on the narrator at that time. And they ended up going with the 28-year-old and they were like, just confidence in that experience. And I just remember being so frustrated at the time and thinking, well, how, if they don't give me this, like, how am I ever going to get the experience? But now I'm older and I'm a teacher, I totally get it.
Yep.
And you have got to get those, it's not even experiences and being on stage, it's life experience, isn't it?
It is that frustration when you're trying to get a job and they go, we want someone with more experience. You're like, well, how am I going to get experience if no one gives me a job?
Yeah.
But there's lots of more local opportunities, especially at smaller colleges.
Yeah.
And we've just been talking this morning.
Yeah.
Local opportunities where you get the experience, you learn how to present yourself when you go to your job and all those
100%.
little things that just add to you.
So just to elaborate what we were talking about this morning, our college students are really lucky because we all still kind of work in the industry, there's opportunities come up all the time. And I'm sure it's, the same in other colleges. But yet they're constantly out gigging every weekend. And then we've got some grads at the moment who are on that in-between phase of still looking for work. But the opportunities that come in, we still give it to those grads. So they've still dipping the toe in the water in performing and still getting that experience. And that is how you get these experiences.
You don't feel as stale, if you will.
And then I think it's that thing of then having that perseverance, isn't it? To just keep getting that experience and just persevering with it. And if you persevere, it will come when it's just... But it's so hard to tell my 17-year-old self that.
Yeah.
And 17-year-olds now, but
especially with
100%.
I'm going to say with like social media, this presentation that everyone's got their life in order, especially from
and
performers.
Everything happens now.
Yeah, and everything, everyone's doing well and everyone's going to the gym every day and everyone's eating 5 fruit and veg and everything's perfect, there is a lot of pressure as they step out in the industry to be like, oh, well, they're doing fantastic and I must compare myself to them. Everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's got their own timeline. You're not always going to step out and get a job initially, but as long as you keep that drive and that spark within you that you've had throughout training, it will carry you forward. Absolutely.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
You just give me a gorgeous segue into the next thing I want to talk to there, Danielle. On the last episode, I spoke at the end just about, it was overwhelm in the sense of, because what I was saying was when I was deciding what to talk about on the first episode, I got the laptop out and started doing research, and then all this information starts coming in and I start going, what I've got to say isn't good enough. And, So that.
Yeah.
And I think as dance teachers, we do that a lot because we're seeing what everyone else is doing and we're like, should I be doing that or should I be doing my own thing? And all these overwhelm happens. So I thought, while I've got you guys here today, I would ask you guys, do you get those feelings?
Yes.
And what do you do to overcome them? So I'll go to Becky first. So it was a yes from you.
It was a yes. Yeah. And especially towards the end of term, when you're starting to get tired, you think, oh, am I just saying the same thing every day? Are they actually getting better? Trust the technique.
Yes.
Go back to basics is what I always think in my head. Trust the technique, go back to basics. Yeah. Because that's the foundation of everything.
It's your grounding, isn't it?
It's the foundation of everything.
I had a class yesterday and we were doing corner work and we had beautiful kicks, leaps and turns. That was the kind of, focus of the class. And I was like, you're just not giving me quality in your step forward and your plie. Like them little bits is what gives it its professional edge.
Definitely.
So I had an advanced class and they were gorgeous. And we were just going back to basics, how to track your arm nicely. And, there's just so much value in all of that.
100%. We were running yesterday, just running across the room, thinking about, right, eye line before you set off. Stretch your feet. Don't shuffle across the room. Yeah. Especially in point shoes. Running's the hardest thing to do in point shoes. I was getting like a little shuffle like a duck. I was like, no, stretch your legs, stretch your feet.
I never want to try that ever again. I'm happy to keep point shoes in the cupboard.
Keep them in the cupboard. We don't need the point shoes again. But
So Daniel, what about you? Do you suffer from that overwhelming feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially actively auditioning and teaching at the same time, and then also trying to be a human. There's that overwhelming and there's that desire to need to be in a job. I need to be in a job, otherwise I'm failing. And actually you step back and you go, that's not the case. Look at what you've done. You can give yourself a break. Maybe this is your little 6 to 12 months out, but whilst you're still doing that, you're still doing teaching. So you're doing something that that you've trained for and that you enjoy. And when I get in those moments, sometimes you can't see a way out. Like you literally think, I don't know where I'm going to go from here. But for me, it's those moments when I'm teaching and I'm in class. And I was teaching yesterday, I was teaching a class and I seen a girl who generally does struggle. But once she'd put all those building blocks together of what I'd said, it all made sense. And she did what we were aiming to do. And I thought, that's the reason why I do it. And in that moment, all those stress, everything that was on my shoulders was gone, because all that mattered in that moment was that child.
Yeah.
And that she'd actually learned something and developed. And you think, do you know what? I do deserve to be here. I do deserve to be a teacher and I do deserve to be in the industry. Yeah. And I think we just need to give ourselves just a little bit more slack and a little more leeway, because if we strip everything back, we are still human at the end of the day. Like, we can only take on so much before we're like, actually, I'm gonna cry. I need to drink. Yeah. And when you've got that as like a studio owner or a dance teacher, and it's not just the teaching aspect, it's the admin, it's the social media, it's looking at other people, it's chasing finances, it's doing X, Y, and Z. And, sometimes you just need to step back and just go, look at my journey where I've came from to now, and give yourself some credit, because as you progress and as you get older, not many people give you that credit that people do deserve. So pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what you need to do.
Like you said, doing all the bits that nobody taught you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing all your invoices, checking everybody's pages so that you can pay your bills and your tax.
Have you done your tax return?
Let's not talk about that. Lastminute.com. So you as a performer, obviously that's a great feeling, isn't it? And it's like a how do I explain it? Like self-gratification almost, like you've put all that hard work in, and that's like you
get that
feel
applause.
like you're accomplishing what you kind of set out to do. and obviously audiences enjoy it. So, you know, you are giving something in life, but teaching, we're really leaving our footprint, aren't we? Because we're really giving something to the next generation. And I think we have so much impact on them. So it is a wonderful industry to be in. And I think, you know, we don't give ourselves enough credit to exactly how much we're giving to the world, if that makes sense. Because I know all my dance teachers were super, left so many valuable lessons within me, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to Danielle again. I've seen that in you when you've gone to auditions and stuff, and then you've had that little moment of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Just maybe, I wouldn't say maybe a bit of disappointment. Or...
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've spoke about it, like when, you know, you get to that point and it's a no, or you don't find out, and then the class list comes out, and then I'm going into a class and I'm teaching these students, and I'm like, guys, you know, you've got to have that self-confidence, you've got to believe in yourself. But, you know, as you do step out into the industry, it's the realism of everything that actually it does take its toll on you, and it's hard not to take it personally, because what they are judging is your skills. But if you strip it all back, sometimes it does come down to the nitty gritty of, it could be something as simple as, do you fit that costume? And it, you know, as much as I would love it not to be, that's more, you know, what I'm understanding, and from a performer aspect is what they are looking at. If they can, you know, cut corners and you can fit in a pair of like size 7, size 8s, they're going to be like, well, let's just go with that.
Sometimes it's just like a practical decision rather than an artistic decision.
And it is hard to keep yourself going after that. But again, you've got to remember why you do it, and just keep that motivation going as much as possible. Which for me at the moment is that teaching, because I'm getting that release, and I'm still getting that moment to pass on to people. So it's keeping me going in a way as well, which is fantastic.
Well, when I've seen you in those moments of like disappointment, and then you go in and teach a class, you are like an incredible talent, and your teaching is amazing. And I just want to say to you, but look how amazing you are. I don't mean to like,
you don't see that, you know, you don't see that in the moment, do you? It's
like, and I don't think, I've never said to you, but that was amazing. Like, I'm saying it to you now as well. So it's just, you don't see it in the moment, but it's like you've just said, I said it on the last podcast. It's just having this conversation now going, okay, I need to step back, remember why I did it, why I love it, what wonderful things are coming out of that now, isn't it?
And we can, to jump in, we can be kind to one another as well, especially with the, you know, with the growth of so many dance schools. You know, a simple like, or a simple, oh, well done, you know, to another dance teacher really can give them that boost and that oomph, because then they probably go home to like, you know, a family that are maybe not from the industry, and they try and talk about the day, and, you know, they may not really understand and stuff like that. So from another dance teacher perspective, for someone to say, oh, you know, well done, that was great, leaving a like on Facebook or Instagram, you know, it goes a long way to think, actually, people like what I'm doing, and
I'm doing all right.
Doing all right.
Should we start a little trend? I am going to make it my mission this week to comment on at least 5 people's other dance teachers. And you guys do the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's spread the
love. Pay it forward,
If you're listening to this, that's your mission. 5 people.
Well, again, we've done a lot of talking this morning in the car. It can be quite lonely to be a dance teacher.
100%.
You're often in there on your own with your students, and you do think, am I doing a good job? Are they getting better?
And like we said before, you're not just dealing with that lesson, are you? You're dealing with the noise outside as well, so to speak. And you can have 10 people that day say, thank you, I'm really pleased with this, really positive. But then you can get one person who can come and say, my child's not doing this, or my, and that one comment out of the other 10
sticks with you.
And can ruin your whole day and make you spiral and, you know, question
I was just
your
gonna say that.
ability. So yeah, it is. We've got so much to
Yeah. So
deal with.
when that negative comes in, we're like that. Well, I've trained. My lines must be perfect. My timing must be perfect. So if that one thing isn't perfect, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
And it comes from that. I think it comes from that deep rooted thing of our lines must be clean, our timing must be perfect, our performance must be here, so that we can present the package on stage or in that environment. I think that's where it comes from. So when that little bit of negativity comes in, you think, well, that's it. That's my day gone. Yeah, thanks everyone.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So, and I just think, talking about it, and I know from doing the podcast the last episode, the feedback was, it's so nice to hear someone else say it.
Yeah.
So I think the whole world's a bit like this now, isn't it? Where it's just about being honest and realistic about what's happening. I mean, I'll be honest right now and say, I love my job, love everything I do. But this week's been a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
We've had to deal with people's behaviour management, and it's been hard work and challenging. And social media, if you were to look at our social media, actually I think I haven't been too great on it this week, I've got to say. It's been a bit busy. But looking in on it, you would think everything's happy.
Yeah.
And in general, it is.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting up on social media, it's been challenging this week. And to someone now listening to this is probably going to go, thank God someone else has had a bad
Someone's
week.
had a tough week. Yeah.
So yeah, just having these conversations I think is really, really helpful to other people in the industry.
You're not the only one that might be having a tough day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And open up to the parents and those that just see that little short snippet of when they're coming to collect their child, and you're smiling like, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we are still human at the end of the day, and we're all dealing with a lot, especially when you've got so many children in the class and you're trying to give everything, you're trying to spread your energy equally, you're trying to give everyone, make sure everyone's getting some feedback and stuff like that. And then you realise you've gave 110% to them and you've got 0% at the end of the night when you're driving home.
Yep.
So we kind of went off a little bit there, which I absolutely love. But just to bring it back to this kind of vocational setting then. So Daniel, you were saying it probably would have helped you in hindsight to maybe go to vocational?
Yeah, just probably a little bit later for that maturity aspect. But, looking at my journey now, I think the way I done it personally for me worked at the time.
Yeah.
Going to normal secondary school and then stepping into vocational. I just probably would have done that just a little slightly later.
And, dance schools, the standard of dance schools these days is incredible.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Let's be honest.
Ridiculous.
So
It is.
It can, you can get a phenomenal standard whilst being in normal high school as well, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I think what you said, Becky, was nice about being surrounded by like-minded people. And that's 100% the way I felt.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I'd gone to, I keep saying normal school, regular school. I don't know how to phrase it. Traditional, that's a good one. Whether, but my school actually closed down when I was in, I think, fourth year seniors.
Yeah.
That's how old I am. I still refer to it as fourth year seniors. And I went to a different school. And I used to get comments like, oh, you're not coming to pictures with us tonight. No, Nazine's got to go and put her dance shoes on.
Yeah.
Which sounds really daft, I know.
Yeah.
But at the time when I was a kid, I was like, oh, should I be going to the cinema?
Yeah.
Or, no, but I really want to go and do this.
Yeah.
So it was being strong-minded enough to go, well, actually, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And is everybody that strong-minded?
I think from a teaching perspective, sorry to jump in, Miss Becky, is when we see those, we see those students and they're at that break, and it's usually at that around that puberty time where the social aspect comes in and they realise their friends are actually doing this after school, but actually 4:30 they've got to be in the studio. And sometimes I'm sure other dance teachers have heard it, and the kids will say, well, actually, she's actually out with her friends because I know that because she's texted me. And, you know, you have that moment when you think, oh, you know, we were really going to learn something today, going to miss out on that. But then you step back and look at it, you know, sometimes these children, you know, need that social moment, and then they'll realise, oh, actually, I don't want to do that after school. Actually, I'd rather be tippy-tapping in the studio and they'll be in the next week like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed and ready to go again because they realise that's what they want to do.
They are the most difficult years, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because you've got dance gets more demanding as you get older. You've probably got tons of extra homework because of GCSEs. And then you've got that peer pressure and your friendship groups
Social
as well.
life.
I've seen so many people jump out of performing arts at that time.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You support them no matter what. But the amount of people who've come back to me later on and gone, I just wish I
stuck with it.
Yeah. It's a really tricky one, isn't it? Because
you have to be, like you said, you have to be really strong-minded to go, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to dance.
Yeah.
Which is what they're still figuring out at that age. Whereas if they're around people that want to dance as well, there's sort of no question about it. Everybody just goes to dance.
I think the mindset with our school as well is that we're trying to create that space where everything's managed through the same eyes, if that makes sense. Whereas in academic school, they just want them to succeed there and they give them extra homework. In our world, we want them to succeed, so we want them to do extra ballet. So we try to get it all done within the hours and reduce like the amount of homework and stuff. So that's kind of where
finding the balance as well. Even if it's sort of a day-to-day thing, they've had a really tough day, they've been doing pantomime rehearsals and then a show. You can go, well, do you know what? This week we just need to dial down the homework.
Yeah.
We can catch up with it or sort it out next week.
Yeah.
So it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, so it's all managed in one space. That I think, you know, being the manager of that kind of business, I'd say that was definitely a bonus of kind of having it all under one roof.
Definitely.
How much we've adapted as well, like, and even from the educational point of view from the school, I think how well the, you know, academics and performing arts staff are blended and, you know, figuring each other's lives out because it's two completely separate things and combining, you know, speaking to the educational teachers and stuff like that, and they go, oh, is it like this? And then you look at it from an educational standpoint and finding that blend, you know, it's still an ongoing journey for everyone in that situation, but I think the way it's blending at the moment in the school is fantastic. You see things from a different perspective with different eyes as well.
So we're really lucky because we can do that. We can manage their education and their training. Have we got any advice for people who are, I don't use the word just meaning just, but people who are maybe running a dance school and are dealing with that situation of the children are on the cusp because they can't manage both? How do we best manage that as just dance teachers who want to keep the children engaged and keep them, you know, engaged in what they love doing, but during that them kind
those
of
tricky
GCSE
years? Good answer. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the school as well. I mean, could a timetable work? Different timetabling? A little and often every night might work, or change it to they come twice a week instead of 4 nights a week.
I think it's that thing of, even though as dance teachers we want to be strict and we want them there at every lesson, I think in that situation, what I found in the past, I think we just kind of have to go, if you can come this week, great. If you can't, no pressure.
A little
and
bit
I
of
do
leeway.
know that is hard as a dance teacher. Because you want them there and you want that continuity and you want to get that showpiece finished. But I think if it's that or risk losing them, I think
That
that
little
needs
bit of
to be
leeway.
the compromise.
An
Yeah.
honest and open
Yeah.
communication line, not only with the student, but also with their parents as well, so you can understand it from their point of view. Actually, they're not loving this subject as much and they'd like to focus a bit more on this, and just finding that middle ground and, working with them as much as possible so you can really be, as I said, clear and open about your communication and, look at where you've came again, reminding them, look at what you've achieved, and with keeping this in your weekly, look at what you can go on to and stuff like that. So they've got that mentality of what they're working towards as well. If they do want to go into the industry, they've still got that goal in the back of their head whilst they're at the cinema with their friends. They're thinking, yeah, that's brilliant. But actually, I should probably be home for this time so I get enough sleep to go to school tomorrow to then be able to go to dance.
Yeah.
I think what is difficult as well, because I've been there before, is you're going to have different children within that as well. So you're going to have those children who are still really hungry for it and they want to go on to vocational college or something, and then you've got the ones who love it, but actually their parents or them want to focus more on their academics.
Yeah.
So it's finding something that, works for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I definitely think, there's got to be some sort of social aspect for them in the class as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even if it's just 10 minutes of the class that's a little bit more relaxed and interactive and stress relieving maybe.
Yeah. So it feels, like you said, like they're doing a social thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good space as well if they are stressed out, if you can bring some sort of relaxation into it. I know we did like a little 5-minute meditation at the end of our college cool down class yesterday.
Oh, I done that on Thursday. We must have all needed it. We must have all been on the same wavelength.
I could do it in PBT. At the start, if they all arrive, right, legs over the ball, close your
into that
eyes.
zone.
Yeah, I think maybe bringing that into the class is a good idea as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely gorgeous talking
Been
to
a
you
pleasure.
both.
It's been fabulous.
Even though we chat every day.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
yeah, and thank you so much. And thank you. I'll take a little opportunity to say thank you for sharing your talents within my business on a regular basis. You're both gorgeous.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
much. Oh, knocking the mic there. So, guys, talk to us. Let us know your thoughts on everything we've spoke about today. And what I'd like to start doing, if you can listen to this on Spotify, YouTube and iTunes. So whichever platform you're listening on, Daniel actually thought he was just doing it.
I said, it's just audio because I've listened to it on Spotify and Miss Becky said, oh no, it's also on camera as well.
Why do you think I've got my lipstick on?
I haven't brushed my hair. I haven't put a nice shirt on.
So whichever platform you listen on, if you leave a little comment at the end of the month, what I'll do is just pick one at randomly and you could win one of our little packages that we do. So we've got a 4-week training program and we've got a nice little dance journal at the moment. So you could win one of them if you just simply leave a comment and tell us your thoughts on this episode. Thank you so much for listening and I'll see you next time on The Principles of Dance.